just listen
Do you
to
remember?
Molly.
I was gonna say, do you remember when we used to rock out in the dressing room to what's left of the flag, just the circle of us?
Yeah. We had a ritual every night where we would play a Flogging Molly song. It was Flogging Molly, right?
Yeah, it was what's left of the flag.
Right. And we would just get very rowdy, and that was just kind of our way to get in the zone of doing a place in Ireland.
Nice.
That show, I feel like, was the epitome of like all of the like Ricky, Bill, Harvey.
A gang was formed in that show for sure.
Yeah, that's where we all kind of got started, was that, and then Tony Napo with his just sheer indomitable force of will, insisting that we all party at their house.
That's where the parties happened.
That's honestly is how I met most of you guys was at Bill's place, Bill and Tony's place.
Yeah,
I remember that show. We were like, there was a period like the first 3 quarters of rehearsal, we were like, what is this show about? Like we couldn't. We're like, there's 2 of this person, and he's getting ready to go to America, and he's got a bunch of friends in Ireland, but he's getting ready to fly to Philadelphia. And that's kind of the plot of the whole play. And we were like, what is this? And at some point, I think 3/4 of the way through, we just kind of we just got into the Irishness of it. And that was, then we just had a blast for like the actual run of the show.
And I was living with Mitch Grant at the time. And so like, that's how I was like, oh, I guess we're going to drink Guinness now forever, I guess, is what's going to happen. Mitch used to do a lot of Flogging Molly, and what was the other band?
Dropkick Murphys.
Dropkick Murphys, yeah.
Like this, like playlist upon playlist of those people, just going wild.
So this is a Brian Frail show. I'm looking it up. Yeah. I haven't heard of it, but Dancing at Lunasa was my first show at the college.
That's right. I remember they talked about having done Dancing Lunasa before. I was trying to think, is there something that we all worked on? Did all of our 5 of us intersect at some point?
Well, I think so. I worked stage crew for Artisan the Man, Hibbs.
Yeah. Well, like crew included, like costume, everything. Like a shape project, maybe?
What'd you say, Josh?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. I mean, I did costuming for Measure. Hibbs, I know you were in that.
Mm-hmm. In Measure.
Yeah, those 2 weren't in Measure.
I was weirdly.
Were we all in Arabian Nights?
No, you.
I didn't work that.
You probably were not all in anything with me because I kind of did a weird half in, half out because I was like I very much hung out with the theater people, but then I did like res life and orientation, and so like all of this other college stuff ended up taking a lot of my free time. I was. I was a mouse.
Good thing I remember.
I forgot about that show.
I was a mouse. And then I also was in one of the Under the Lights, one of the years.
Mm-hmm. Was that the one Liz Weed co-directed?
Potentially.
Yeah. I don't remember much. Liz and I co-directed a bunch of the Under the Lights, and I played a doctor giving an exam to a lady.
It was that year. Yeah, because I remember that.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, I remember that.
Andrew, that Under the Lights, you and I directed all of them, right?
I directed half of them, and you directed half of them. There was like 10.
Was that after our junior year?
I think so. Yeah.
I feel like that's accurate.
Yes, it was, because I was dating Michael already.
Yeah, and Michael had written the show that Matt and Dallas were in, the jazz. It was like a Starbucks.
Yeah.
I think Matt wrote it. Did Matt write it? Yeah, Matt wrote it.
Yes.
Matt wrote it. Matt wasn't in it. Matt was in it. Who was in it? Was Smallwood in it?
No, it was Dallas, and I mean, maybe it was Matt.
You're right, though. Matt did write it. It was Matt who wrote it.
Wait, did you guys? Was I in that one with I think Caruth and was it you, Liz? Were you in one with me?
I would have been in Under the Lights before, but I don't think I was in any of the year that Andrew and I like headed it up. I think that we just directed.
Was it Sam McCall?
Yeah, you know what? I think it was
Yeah,
Sam with Dallas because Maddie was in one with me, and I want to say Mira Waters.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think that wow, Josh, did I direct you in Under the Lights?
What's that?
Are we just realizing that I directed you in an Under the Lights? That's
I think you did. Yeah, it was
Don't
like a
even
Christmas
remember
dinner
those
after the
shows.
mother had
I
passed
can't
away.
remember which one of you directed me. I think I was on a bench. I don't remember much.
There was a bench involved in one of them.
There
yes.
was a bench.
That is
I was
correct.
in that one. I don't
There was a
remember
bench.
what else. Was
That's
in
about as much as I remember because there were 5 of them, so it was kind of hard to like we rehearsed it a couple times. We're like, that's good enough.
Yeah. It's okay. Sure.
then Mira wrote one maybe for the following year that I was in with Nico, maybe, and one other person. Jillian, you said there was a bench, and the scene that Mira wrote that I was in with Nico and maybe one other person also had a bench. So
Just
There's a-
pulled out the same bench every year.
I know that benches don't regularly appear in plays,
In
so
student
Yeah,
plays in particular.
I think we can do
It's
like
on a park bench.
a process of elimination and decide
You
that.
guys wrote Zoo Story? Like,
Speaking of directing Josh Keller, Josh, let's talk some Dark Ride, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting experience for everyone involved. I think I directed Josh in a center stage show called Dark Ride, which was in I think a lot of Mark's script analysis class. It's a very strange show, and I was all about how weird it was. And yeah, we had quite a cast of characters in the show, and it was probably a pretty big. I bit off more than I could chew for my first outing as a director, because it was just a very bizarre show with all kinds of light cues and sound cues, and
I remember
Yes.
liking it. Like I remember liking it. And there are some center stage shows I remember being like, meh.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
liking it.
And for what it's worth, I really loved working on it. It's still one of my favorite memories.
And then Liz directed me in Wait Until Dark,
True.
which was a blast. And I had a lot of fun doing that show. Liz, do you
remember
want to talk
letting-
about
I
Wait Until
think-
Dark?
I would say I think I remember lending you the movie for Wait Until Dark back. then,
You
too.
had, because I had never seen the movie because I didn't want to be. I didn't want the purity of my love of the script to be tarnished by the movie, and I love the movie. Really, I think the biggest takeaway from me directing Wait Until Dark is that I realized I have a lot of implicit bias to casting tall people. It was like the tallest cast that has ever existed, because they all, I mean, it was you, Hibbs,
Charlie,
Anna Freeman, it was Gabe,
Gabe,
Sam McCullough,
Pam.
super tall, and then
And
then Corey Doyle, who got married like this last weekend, was the 9-year-old because she was 5'4" and
Right.
could pull it off.
Whenever you're surrounded by giants, yeah.
Well,
and this was in Theater 220.
Yeah, this was in Theater 220, and this was our senior year.
How do you like their space at that point? Like,
How did what?
I'm just making a joke at how low the ceiling is. How do you like their face if your entire cast is?
It was also complicated because I decided that it should be in a thrust, which I thought was pretty cool. The first time I had ever seen it and fell in love with it, it was in a thrust, and I really wanted to see how I could do that, which the actors did a great job of, despite me getting in the way. And we had the entrance to the apartment. Wait Until Dark takes place in a basement apartment. we had the door to the apartment. You have to enter into the apartment. So the door to the apartment was in the back of 220, in the middle of the back of the seats. And so you had to climb up to walk into the door and then down through the audience to get into the apartment. And the railings, I mean, Charlie played a blind woman and we didn't have railings for her to work with until 45 minutes before the house opened and I was like, Charlie, just, pretend there's a railing. And she was like, Liz, I'm blind. And I was like, yeah, well, you're going to have to try a little harder. I get act better. So the railings were, and also Sam had to dive down those stairs, which we had obviously never done in an audience full of people, except for the preview night where we brought in the Charleston Association for the Blind came for our preview night. And I've never been more proud because all of the dogs that came with the folks from the Association for the Blind they hated Gabe. They were so scared of him and they were so protective of Charlie. And I was like, these dogs are telling me that I've done an okay job. And Andrew, do you remember that? The dogs like growling?
I completely forgot that we had dogs at the show. Yeah, wow. I did not remember that at all. I do remember you were talking about the entrance to the apartment being like in the audience. And I do remember because I have a very like at the end of the show, I burst in. Yeah, because I was the husband. And so like I show up at the beginning of the show and then I just got to chill for a while. And I would watch like episodes of Dexter on my laptop and then like, oh yep, time to jump back in. And then and I would just like I would like kind of like run in place like outside of Theater 220 so that I would like be like jacked up and then I would like fling the door open and like run in right at the end of the show.
I'm sorry that I made that so complicated for everyone, but you say that you had to sit around in the middle of the show. Absolutely accurate. Susie's husband is never seen except for like in the first 10 seconds of the play and then the last 2 seconds. Pivotal role. But Andrew also designed sound for that and did a good job designing sound.
I did design sound for that show and definitely had a lot of help from, once again, shout out Mark Landis. I just remember like at the beginning, I'm just like packing up my photography stuff. Bye, honey. And then I'm like, peace out. See you later. I'm going to leave you to the crazy drug lord man.
I mean, like just live your truth.
I will say the playwright being like, he's a photographer and he's married to a blind woman. That was like a little writing touch. But yeah, no, I definitely struggled with the staging of Dark Ride because we did like almost like a diamond shape, triangle shape stage. It wasn't really in the round. And I was like, this is going to be so cool. And then I was like, how do I direct this? And it was definitely a challenge on that for sure.
I was studying abroad when Andrew was directing Dark Ride. And so I would get Facebook messages or AIMs from him at all hours of the day.
AIMs.
Like, here's look, you gotta be on AIM if you're going to keep in touch with people when you're studying abroad. That was fall of 2008. And so I would get like a recap at least once a week on how rehearsals were going. And I remember when
you're like, Liz, I had a meltdown again.
It was I'm sure we could go back into my Facebook archives and we shouldn't because that's the first time I ever heard who Palmer Stowe was, is you were like, oh, I cast Palmer in this play, she's great. And I was like, this is like, I will forever know that this is where Palmer really entered. And I'm really grateful, Andrew, that you cast her because she's one of my best friends. I really
Hi, Palmer. I haven't talked to you in a long time. How's it going?
Bringing her into that orbit. So yeah,